The room went silent, the kind of silence that makes your heart race. When Ty dropped the bombshell that no one saw coming. Secret pictures. A baby shower that was never supposed to see the light of day. And right there, in front of cameras and castmates, Evelyn's world seemed to crumble. Whispers turned into gasps, and within seconds, social media exploded, fans flooding timelines with shock and disbelief. How could something so personal, so deeply hidden, suddenly become the center of public chaos? Was this a calculated move from Ty, or just another messy twist in a feud that refuses to die down? The tension was thick enough to cut, and while some cast members looked on in stunned silence, others couldn't help but fuel the fire with questions and accusations. Fans are saying this could be the biggest betrayal yet. One that might just destroy friendships, alliances, and whatever fragile trust remained. And as Evelyn fought to hold back tears, one thing became painfully clear. Was no longer just reality TV drama. This was personal, raw, and heartbreakingly public. And it left everyone wondering, if this secret got out, what else is still hiding in the shadows? The set had started off quiet that morning, the usual small talk echoing around. As the crew adjusted cameras and the cast settled into their spots, unaware of the storm that was about to hit. Evelyn arrived a little later than usual, sunglasses on despite being indoors. Her phone pressed tightly to her ear as she whispered something inaudible. Her face was calm, maybe a little too calm, like someone trying hard to keep it together. Ty, on the other hand, walked in with the kind of confidence that always made the room tense up. She had that look, the one that said she was holding on to something dangerous. And everyone sensed it, but didn't quite know what it was. The day had barely started when Ty casually pulled out her phone during a lulling conversation. Her smile was sharp, her tone deceptively light as she said, "So, does anyone want to talk about this little celebration I stumbled across?" She tapped her screen, and within seconds, the room's energy shifted. There it was, crystal clear on her phone, a picture of a baby shower. Soft pastel colors, pink and cream decorations, and right in the middle of it all, Evelyn glowing in a white dress, one hand resting gently on her stomach. Surrounded by people who looked far too happy to be keeping a secret. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Even the crew froze, the hum of the cameras the only sound in the room. Chantel was the first to react, her eyes going wide as she leaned closer, her hand covering her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered, almost too quietly for the microphones to catch. Jackie, never one to hold back, let out a low whistle. "Girl, what is this? Because I know you didn't tell us you were hosting something like this." Evelyn's composure cracked for the briefest moment, her eyes darting around the room, searching for some kind of support, but finding none. Her voice trembled as she tried to speak. "That's not what you think it is." Ty raised an eyebrow, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Really? Because to me, it looks exactly like what everyone's been whispering about for weeks. You, a secret celebration, and a lot of lies." The tension thickened, every eye on Evelyn as she tried to explain, but the words just wouldn't come out right. "It's complicated," she finally muttered, her fingers nervously twisting the strap of her purse, but no one was buying it. Brandy crossed her arms, shaking her head slowly. "Complicated? Girl, you've been swearing up and down there's nothing going on, and now this. How do you expect us to believe anything you say?" The weight of the accusations hung heavy in the air. Evelyn's breathing quickened, her carefully crafted facade slipping with every passing second. She tried again, her voice soft but desperate. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I wasn't ready to talk about it yet." Ty leaned forward, her eyes locking on Evelyn's like a predator closing in. "Oh, so we're supposed to just sit here and keep pretending? You've been lying to all of us, to the fans, and you think that's okay?" In the background, Chantel whispered something to Jackie. Something about how she'd had a feeling something was off for weeks. Their quiet exchange didn't go unnoticed, adding to the chaos already brewing in the room. Cameras zoomed in on every reaction, every flinch, every tear that threatened to fall from Evelyn's eyes. It was raw, it was messy, and it was exactly the kind of moment the producers lived for. Finally, Evelyn stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You don't know what I've been dealing with," she said, her voice breaking. "You don't know what it's like to have every part of your life picked apart, judged, and twisted into something ugly. I wanted to keep one thing for myself. Just one, and now that's been taken too." Her words hung in the air, a painful confession that no one seemed ready to respond to. For a brief moment, there was silence, the kind that feels heavy and uncomfortable. Even Ty seemed to falter, her sharp expression softening just enough to reveal the tiniest flicker of doubt. But the moment passed quickly, and the room erupted again. Everyone was talking at once, voices overlapping, accusations flying, confusion, and anger mixing into one explosive cocktail of reality TV chaos. Jackie was the loudest, pointing a finger at Evelyn. "If you wanted privacy, fine. But don't sit there and act like you haven't been lying to us. You don't get to play the victim now, not when you've been keeping secrets this big." Chantal chimed in, her tone softer but no less pointed. "We would have been there for you, Evelyn. All you had to do was tell us. But instead we find out like this, through Ty of all people." Those words hit harder than anyone expected, and Evelyn visibly flinched. Her shoulders slumped as she sank back into her chair, silent tears finally slipping down her cheeks. Cameras caught every second of it, her vulnerability laid bare for the world to see. In that moment, she wasn't the confident, polished woman fans were used to. She was just human, broken under the weight of secrets and betrayal. But Ty wasn't done. She stood up, pacing slowly as she spoke. "You think I wanted to do this? You think I enjoy being the one to call you out? No, but someone had to, because you've been lying for too long. And if you think the fans weren't going to find out eventually, you're living in a fantasy." Her words were sharp, but there was something else there too, a strange mix of frustration and hurt. Like this wasn't just about the picture or the secret, but something deeper that none of them were ready to confront. Outside the studio, the world was already reacting. The leaked images were everywhere, fans dissecting every detail, every expression, every decoration. Speculation ran wild, theories popping up faster than anyone could keep up with. Was the baby shower for Evelyn? Was someone else involved? Why had she gone to such lengths to keep it quiet? Everyone had an opinion, and none of them were kind. Back inside, the atmosphere was suffocating. No one knew what to say anymore, the weight of the revelation settling in like a thick fog. Evelyn sat silently, her eyes fixed on the floor, while the others exchanged glances that said more than words ever could. Whatever came next, nothing would ever be the same again. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Every second dragging on as the cameras rolled and the cast sat frozen in their seats. Ty still had her phone in her hand, the damning image, glowing on the screen like a spotlight that refused to dim. Evelyn's quiet sobs were the only sound for a moment. But even those felt too loud, like they were echoing through the studio and bouncing off every corner of the set. The tension was unbearable, the kind that makes even the crew hesitate to move. Afraid that the slightest sound might ignite another explosion, Jackie broke the silence first, leaning forward with that piercing stare that never failed to cut through. "A person, girl," she said, her tone sharp but eerily calm. "If there's more to this, now is the time to speak. Because right now, it looks like you've been living a whole other life and expecting us to play dumb." Her words sliced through the air, and Evelyn flinched like she'd been hit. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Just a shallow breath that trembled with the weight of everything she wasn't ready to say. Chantel shifted in her chair. her voice softer, but her words no less pointed. "We would have been there for you, Evelyn. We would have kept your secret if that's what you wanted. But now the whole world knows, and you're sitting here acting like we're the ones who don't get it." She glanced at Ty, then back at Evelyn, her expression a mixture of hurt and disbelief. "Not just the secret, it's the way you shut us out like we didn't matter." Brandy, who had been unusually quiet up until now, finally spoke, her voice calm but laced with disappointment. "You know, we've all had our share of messes. We've all had moments where we didn't want the world to see what was going on. But you don't lie to the people who care about you. Not like this." Her words carried a weight that made Evelyn finally look up, her red, tear-filled eyes locking onto Brandy's. But she didn't defend herself. She couldn't, because deep down, she knew they were right. They were right. Ty, sensing that the tide of sympathy might be turning even slightly, pressed forward. "You've been playing the victim this whole time," she said, her voice rising. "Acting like everyone's out to get you, when in reality, you're the one keeping secrets and spinning stories. And the worst part? You didn't even have the guts to come clean. I had to do it for you." She tossed her phone onto the table, the image still glowing on the screen. A silent accusation no one could ignore. The sound of the phone hitting the table jolted Evelyn, and something in her snapped. She stood abruptly, her chair toppling over, with a loud clatter that made everyone jump. "You think you know everything, Ty," she spat, her voice breaking. "But you don't. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know why I made the choices I did. You just see what you want to see, and you twist it into something ugly so you can feel better about yourself." The room went silent again, but this time it wasn't the heavy, suffocating silence from before. This was charged, electric, the kind of silence that comes right before lightning strikes. Ty stared at Evelyn, her jaw tight, her fists clenched at her sides. "Then, explain it," she said finally, her voice low but sharp. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been lying to everyone. And for what? To protect someone. To protect yourself? Which is it?" Evelyn shook her head, her hands trembling as she wiped at her face. "It's not that." "Simple?" she whispered. "None of this is simple." But no one wanted to hear that anymore. To them, it sounded like another excuse. Another way to avoid the truth that was now staring them all in the face. Outside the set, the frenzy was building. The leaked baby shower photos were spreading like wildfire, shared on every platform, dissected in every comment section. Fans were outraged, confused, and hungry for answers. Some defended Evelyn, saying she deserved her privacy. Others accused her of manipulation, of playing games with the people who trusted her most. Hashtags. With her name trended globally within hours. And every gossip blog was scrambling to post their own version of the story. Back inside, Jackie leaned back in her chair, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You know what this looks like?" she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "It looks like you didn't trust us. Like you thought we'd run to the blogs or sell the story for a quick buck? Is that what you think of us, Evelyn? That we're just here to exploit you?" Those words hit harder than anything else had so far. And for the first time, Evelyn's tears stopped. She looked at Jackie, her expression raw, almost pleading. "No," she said quietly, shaking her head. "That's not what this is. I just wanted something that was mine, just for a little while, before the world got its hands on it, before it became something ugly." Her voice cracked again, and for a brief second there was a flicker of understanding in Jackie's eyes. But it disappeared as quickly as it had come. Chantal's phone buzzed loudly on the table, breaking the tension, and when she glanced at the screen, her eyes widened. "Guys," she said, holding up her phone, "this just went live. It's every single picture, the whole gallery. It's everywhere now." The room collectively gasped. The reality of the situation settling in like a weight pressing down on all of them. There was no going back now. Whatever control Evelyn thought she had over her story, it was gone. Brandy leaned forward, her voice low but steady. You need to get ahead of this, Evelyn, before it spins even more out of control. 'Cause right now, the narrative isn't yours. And once the fans decide what they believe, it's almost impossible to change their minds. Her words were pragmatic, even kind, but they cut deep because they were true. Evelyn knew it. They all knew it. But Ty wasn't done. She stepped closer to Evelyn. Her eyes locked on her with a mix of anger and something that almost looked like sadness. You had every chance to be honest, she said, her voice quieter now, but no less intense. Every chance to tell us the truth before it came to this. And you chose to lie. Don't act like this is anyone's fault but yours. The weight of those words settled over the room like a heavy blanket, suffocating and inescapable. Evelyn sank back down into her chair, defeated, her hands covering her face as the cameras zoomed in, capturing every second of her unraveling. And though no one said it out loud, they all knew the same thing. The damage had been done, and nothing would ever be the same again. The studio lights felt hotter than ever. But it wasn't the heat making everyone shift in their seats. It was the tension thick enough to choke on. Evelyn sat there, her face hidden behind her hands, her shoulders trembling with silent sobs. Every eye in the room was on her, some full of anger, some of confusion, and just a few with the faintest trace of sympathy. But no one dared to speak first. Even the producers watching from behind the cameras hesitated, unsure of whether to cut the feed or let the chaos keep brewing. Then, in a voice so quiet it almost didn't register, Evelyn finally said, "You don't know what it's like to carry something so big, so heavy, and know that the second it gets out, people will tear it apart." Her words cracked in the middle, but she pushed through, forcing herself to look up, her tear-streaked face exposed to the cameras. "I wanted just a little piece of peace, just a moment that belonged to me. Is that really so wrong?" For a moment, the room softened. Brandy leaned forward, her expression shifting from judgment to something gentler. "Evelyn wanting peace isn't wrong," she said softly, "but lying to the people who love you, that's where you messed up. We could have been there for you. We could have protected you. Instead, you pushed us away, and now this is bigger than all of us." Jackie, arms folded, let out a sharp laugh that cut through the fragile quiet. "Please," she said, her tone, dripping with disbelief, protected her. "Girl, half the time you can't even protect your own business, let alone hers." Let's be real here. Evelyn made a choice. She chose secrecy over loyalty, and now the whole world knows it. Broke whatever restraint Evelyn had left. "Do you think I don't know that?" Snapped, her voice raw with emotion. "You think I don't wake up every day terrified that one of you would leak something? That one of you would take the one thing I had left and sell it to the blogs? I've been betrayed before, Jackie. I've been humiliated before, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. Not this time." The words hung there, sharp and heavy, and for a long second, no one moved. Then Chantal, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke, her voice steady but carrying a sadness that made everyone pause. "But you did let it happen, Evelyn," she said softly. "Because now it's out, and it's uglier than it ever would have been if you just trusted us. You didn't just shut us out. You made us part of the lie, and now we're all dealing with the fallout." Outside, social media was a firestorm. Fan accounts were posting theories by the second, some claiming they knew who had leaked the photos. Others accusing cast members of staging the entire thing for publicity. Live reaction videos were popping up on every platform, dissecting every frame of the confrontation that had already gone viral. And through it all, the hashtags kept climbing, cementing Evelyn at the center of a storm she couldn't control. Inside the studio, Ty paced like a predator, her heels clicking against the floor in a rhythm that made everyone uneasy. "You want to talk about betrayal?" she said, her voice cold and sharp. Let's talk about what you did. You looked us all in the eye week after week while we sat here defending you, backing you up, and you let us believe a lie. You played the victim while you were sitting on the truth. And now you want us to feel sorry for you. Nah, that's not how this works. Evelyn's lip trembled, but she didn't look away. For the first time, there was a spark of defiance in her tear-filled eyes. I didn't ask for your sympathy, she said, her voice low but steady. I just wanted to protect something. That mattered to me. And maybe I went about it the wrong way, but that doesn't make me the villain you're trying to paint me as. Jackie snorted, leaning back in her chair with a smug look. Villain or victim, the fact is the same. You lied, and if you think these people, she gestured toward the cameras, are going to buy the poor me act, you're out of your mind. They're watching every second of this, and they're making up their own minds. And trust me, once they've decided who you are in their heads, there's no coming back from that. Brandy shook her head, her tone softer but firm. This isn't about the fans, Evelyn. This is about us, about trust. And right now, there's none left. Not with me. Not with Chantal. Definitely not with Ty. So if you want to start fixing this, you need to start with the truth. All of it. No more half-truths. No more games. The words seemed to land somewhere deep inside Evelyn, because for the first time that night, she looked genuinely broken. Like the weight of everything she'd been holding on to was finally too much. She took a shaky breath, her voice barely above a whisper. The pictures, they weren't supposed to be public. That day, that shower. It was the only day I've had in months where I didn't feel like I was drowning. Okay, and now it's out. There, and it's ruined. And I can't take that back. Chantal blinked hard, her own emotions threatening to spill over. Then why didn't you just tell us? She asked quietly. Could have protected you. Could have protected that day. But instead, you made it so much worse. And now you're standing here alone. Ty stopped pacing, her eyes narrowing as she studied Evelyn. Alone is exactly where she put herself, she said coldly. And now she wants us to feel bad about it. But guess what? Evelyn, actions have consequences. And this is yours. The air in the room was thick, suffocating as Evelyn sank deeper into her seat, her hands trembling in her lap. The cameras zoomed in again, catching every flicker of emotion on her face. And somewhere in the background, the producers exchanged knowing looks. They had struck gold. But even they couldn't predict where this storm would go next. The silence in the studio was deafening, broken only by the faint hum of the lights overhead and the distant buzz of a phone vibrating somewhere on the table. Evelyn sat frozen, her eyes fixed on a spot on the floor, but her mind miles away, replaying every decision that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the secrets, the fear, it all swirled together, choking her until she could barely breathe. Ty, still standing, looked down at her with a mix of rage and cold satisfaction. Her arms crossed tightly over her chest as if she were holding herself back from saying more. Brandy finally broke the silence, her voice trembling but strong. You know what hurts the most, Evelyn? She said, leaning forward, her hands gripping the edge of the table. We weren't just your friends, we were your family. At least that's what I thought. And you didn't even give us a chance to prove that to you. You just shut us out. Like we didn't matter. That hit Evelyn hard, her lip quivering as she tried to find the right words. Brandy, she whispered, her voice breaking. Wasn't about you. It wasn't about any of you. It was about me trying to hold on to something good, just for a second, before the world ripped it apart like it always does. But Ty wasn't buying it. She stepped closer, her heels clicking ominously against the tile floor. No, Evelyn, she said sharply, her tone cutting through the room like a blade. You don't get to play the victim here. You lied to our faces over and over, and you expected us to smile and nod like we didn't know better. You made fools out of us, and for what? So you could feel safe. Girl, safety doesn't come from lies. it never has. Jackie smirked from her seat, her eyes gleaming like a predator sensing blood in the water. Ty's right. She chimed in, her voice dripping with a twisted sort of amusement. You built this whole little fantasy world where you could keep your secrets. But guess what? Fantasy doesn't pay the bills, baby. Reality always catches up. And right now, it's knocking at your door loud enough for the whole world to hear. Chantel, who had been quiet again, finally spoke, her voice softer but no less firm. You should have trusted us, Evelyn, she said, shaking her head slowly. We're not perfect. God knows we've all made mistakes, but we've always been there for each other, and now it just feels like you never believed in that. Like you never believed in us. Outside, the chaos only grew louder. Social media was flooded with posts, dissecting every second of the broadcast, hashtags climbing faster than anyone could keep up. Fan theories spun out of control, some claiming Ty had staged the reveal for clout, others accusing Jackie of leaking the photos just to stir the pot. And through it all, the images of the baby shower kept circulating, sparking debates and outrage in equal measure. Inside the studio, the tension kept building. Evelyn finally lifted her head, her tear-streaked face now etched with something sharper. Something almost defiant. You all think you know everything, she said, her voice trembling but growing stronger with every word. But you don't. You don't know what it's like to wake up every day and feel like the whole world is waiting for you to fail. You don't know what it's like to be terrified that the one good thing in your life is going to be destroyed because of who you are or what people think of you. Ty let out a bitter laugh, her arms tightening around herself. And lying to everyone who cared about you, fixed that. Is that what you're saying? Evelyn's eyes flashed with something. Close to anger? No, she said sharply. But it was the only way I knew how to protect it. To protect myself. Maybe that makes me weak. Maybe that makes me selfish. But at least I can admit that. Can you? For the first time all night, Ty faltered, her expression cracking just enough for the cameras to catch it. The room held its breath, sensing the shift, the tiny fracture in Ty's armor. But she recovered quickly, her face hardening again as she shook her head. Don't turn this on me, she snapped. You're the one who built this mess. You're the one who kept lying even when you had every chance to come clean. So don't sit there and act like we owe you anything now. Brandy leaned back. In her chair, her hands pressed against her temples as if the weight of it all was too much. This is just too much, she muttered, her voice thick with emotion. We're supposed to be celebrating each other, lifting each other up, and instead we're tearing each other apart. And for what? Secrets? Pride? Ego? It's not worth it. None of this is worth it. The producers, sensing the perfect storm of emotion, signaled for the cameras to keep rolling. Every second of this would make it to air. Every tear, every sharp word, every shaky breath. They knew this was the kind of drama that people couldn't look away from, the kind that would dominate headlines for weeks. And as Evelyn sat there, staring down at her hands, the reality of it all sank in. There was no going back, no undoing. The choices that had brought her here, the baby shower pictures were out, the truth, or at least the version the world had decided to believe, was out, and all she could do now was try to survive the fallout. One brutal moment at a time. And there you have it, the storm that nobody saw coming but everyone is talking about. From the shocking baby shower pictures to the explosive confrontations, this entire saga has left fans divided, hearts broken, and the internet on fire. But the question now is, where does Evelyn go from here? Can she rebuild the trust she's lost? Or is this the beginning of the end for her friendships and her reputation? What's even more wild is that the conversations online aren't slowing down. Some people are standing firmly behind Ty, praising her for exposing what they call the biggest secret of the season, while others are urging everyone to give Evelyn some grace, saying that nobody truly knows the pain she's been carrying. And honestly, this story is far from over. If history tells us anything, it's that more receipts, more accusations. And even more drama are just around the corner. So now we want to hear from you. Do you think Tai went too far by dropping those pictures? Or was she right to finally bring the truth to light? And what about Evelyn? Do you think she'll be able to bounce back from this? Or is the damage too deep? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we're reading everything you have to say, and trust us, this conversation is only getting started. If you loved this deep dive into the chaos, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next twist in this unfolding drama. Because one thing's for sure in this world, the tea never stops spilling. And you know we'll be here to break it all down for you every single time.